Hi all, I have a very exciting game to show you from the British Chess Championship. Both players are extremely dynamic, aggressive, interesting players to me. I played Charles Storey in one of the British Championships once and lost horribly, and Lawrence Trent I've lost horribly to as well. They're both really great players. Let's see this game. E4 from Lawrence Trent, who's an international master. Charles Storey is an FM FIDE master. We see the caro-kann being played by Charles Storey, so none of this sniper business. He has some stuff on the sniper. He didn't play that here. Maybe he feared something would be prepared against it. Knight c3, d5, and we have an unusual move here, which makes this game kind of interesting from a theoretical point of view. Usually d4 or knight f3 is played here. The third most popular move in Llandudno is queen f3, e6, which kind of hems in the bishop, it seems, d4, and now black plays queen b6, just looking at that pawn. Usually white does play the move bishop d3 here. If we have a look at this, this looks like an interesting kind of gambit in its own right. But if white plays knight ge2, I think it's thought to be equal. Well, it looks equal here technically after knight f6. It looks awkward to block in the bishop. Let's face it. It's going to cost white time to do something with this bishop. And then maybe, you know, c5 black might even be better here. It looks like an improved French defense. So if g3 is out of the question, what is white actually doing here? It looks a bit tricky. Let's see, can white actually develop sensibly without collapsing? I don't know, it's tricky. Okay, so basically this is the move. It gives up a pawn. It's a known idea. A very interesting idea. Bishop e3, offering another pawn. Bishop c5. Now here, perhaps, it seems this is actually quite a dynamic, aggressive position for white. Now white chose a completely understandable move, castling, with the idea that this f-file looks dangerous. But before we get into that game continuation, there's a couple of interesting alternatives here. One is just taking on c5 actually, and then playing this, striking at both, you know, protecting c7 and hitting g7. And this is useful. For example, here we can hit c7, and we're also looking at d6 here. So this kind of continuation, where, you know, it's like the black king is stuck in the center, is quite good for white. There's some good prospects here, but also this is like maybe a kind of critical juncture. Queen g3 immediately. Let's have a look at this. This position is looking tricky. Just to eye g7 immediately, and if g6, that's quite a concession. Maybe e takes, and say c takes. There's knight takes d5. We've got a loose rook issue. For example, here, queen e5 check. So this is a really interesting system, what's being played in this game. But it's just this critical moment. There is a kind of weakness of the last move, that g7. So both these ideas are quicker on g7 than the game continuation. So maybe this is an opportunity for just queen g3, actually, queen g3. But we have castling, and black actually took on e3, and it looks really dangerous, this. If the natural knight f6, then e5, end of game. But Charles Storey played the quirky looking knight h6, but it's sufficient, it seems. This is the very interesting thing. White generates another threat, but now black, without concession on the dark squares, just castles. We have a quirky looking move in return, rook f6 threatening, rook takes h6. And here black played what seems to be an incredible defensive sequence. King h8 might offer white some dynamic aggressive play after taking, and queen f4. The structure's wrecked. These pieces over here look like spectators, and it looks as though this is very dangerous. Let's have a look. You know, for example, like this, it starts to look dangerous. But possibly with best play, maybe black is okay. Maybe black's okay. But this wasn't even allowed though. D takes, which kind of weakens F5 now, and that's immediately used to parry this threat with knight F5. And we have this situation after bishop takes, E takes, with a weird rook kind of trapped in the opponent's position, which is not hanging at the moment because of the pin. Rook D1, and now queen takes B2. Yeah, this looks, to me, this is quite an amusing looking position. Structurally, it seems quite suspect. There's a lot of pawn islands here. There's 3 pawn islands here. And yeah, if black can defend this, let's see, he'll be doing well. Knight A6, another quirky looking move. Normal development in this game is ruled out. You know, you have these knights going to the edge, and here we have Knight A6, another one. It just seems amusing to me, this game, that Knight A6 is actually the top move as well. These quirky looking moves all make sense in this game between these two players. They all make sense. Queen E5, maybe with the idea of knight F4 to H5. This knight, there is a threat now on G7. That's apparent. Queen B4, knight F4, Queen C5. I know, black's just playing with his knight and queen, and white's got everything developed for the attack. But it seems this is the problem I have myself. When I play Charles Storey, he just is resilient. You know, if it's nothing concrete, it's actually nothing concrete. Unless you can find something concrete, just because it looks good, it's not good enough. Especially on a long time control, like a one-day game, it's often not good enough. It's got to be like, there's got to be something. Now white tries knight CD5, and this looks really dangerous. After C takes, knight H5 threatening mate. But there's one move which actually, yeah, there's one move which ordinarily would be terrible, but in this position, funny enough, is not just the one only move, it's the one good move, which is just simply F6, defending the mate threat. Another mate threat. And this is defended with not just defending G7, but pinning the rook. Rook 1 takes D5, and now a clever defensive move, inviting huge simplification, in fact, is played here, because if black doesn't play this, you know, maybe there's still some pressure, there's some awkwardness. Say black plays a move like you know, King H8, then it looks dangerous to play Rook D8, and there's, you know, Queen's hit. But there's Bishop E6 here, just about, yeah, the knight's protecting the queens. It's okay for black. But black actually played Bishop E6, inviting white to just take the bishop off and inviting simplification. Now, if this occurs, then queen takes, and then knight C7. And black is the exchange up. And that will be the end of white's fun here. Cold shower. Just the exchange down. So we see Rook AE8. Knight F4, knight C5, yeah, and black's centralizing now. After all that seemingly outrageous stuff, he's looking quite good in the center, and he's stabilizing the knight. And yeah, centralizing again, hitting E3, and white's just totally gone. There's no prospect. All the dynamic prospects have been sucked out, like Dracula would suck out all the blood of someone's victim, of his victim. Yeah, all the dynamism has gone from white's game, and he's just a piece down. So he resigned here. But yes, a very, very interesting game encounter. But I think there is dynamic play available. I just think white castling, it seems, on my inspection here, might have been there might be more optimal stuff with Queen G3 just hitting that G7 immediately. So I think black might have taken some liberties here and underestimated the ferocity of white's play. Okay, very interesting gambit though, and one that I'm going to try and play and blitz myself and see what happens. Comments, questions, likes, shares appreciated. Thanks very much.